Hi, this is Coach Colette, host of the Start Within podcast, and welcome to this week's episode of Financial Fridays. Well, yesterday, April 22nd, was Earth Day, and this is technically Earth Week. The theme for Earth Day 2021 is Restore Our Earth, which aims to focus on natural processes, emerging green technologies, and innovative thinking that can restore the world's ecosystems. Yet I would be remiss if I did not talk about environmental racism. It's a form of systemic racism in which communities of color are disproportionately burdened with health hazards through policies and practices that force them to live in close proximity to sources of toxic waste such as sewage works, mines, landfills, power stations, major roads, and other emitters of airborne particulate matter. This term was first coined back in 1982 by Black civil rights leader Benjamin Chavis, and he described it as racial discrimination in environmental policy making, the enforcement of regulations and laws, the deliberate targeting of communities of color for these types of facilities, and the official sanctioning of the life-threatening presence of poisons and pollutants in communities of color. Now you may think, wow, back in 1982, are we still dealing with this? Well, absolutely. One only needs to look at the poisoned tap water in Flint, Michigan, the toxic waste dumps in the lower Rio Grande Valley, or a town in China where 80% of children have been poisoned by old computer parts that have been dumped in the area. So while Earth Day is a great chance to encourage ourselves to get fresh air, because we know that is an amazing way to support our health and well-being, to get outside, it's important to keep in mind this issue of environmental racism. And Benjamin Chavis also pointed to the exclusion of people of color from leadership of climate movements. In practice, we can see environmental racism in many forms, from workplaces that don't have strong health regulations to locating coal-fired power stations close to communities of color. And as I mentioned, it can also include contaminated groundwater or schools with decaying buildings that contain asbestos. A landmark 2007 study by Dr. Robert Bullard, who is also known as the father of environmental justice, found race to be more important than socioeconomic status in predicting the location of the nation's commercial hazardous waste facilities. He showed that Black children were 5 times more likely to have lead poisoning from close proximity to waste than white children, and that Black Americans making $50,000 to $60,000 per year were more likely to live in polluted areas than their white counterparts who made just $10,000 per year. It's horrifying to me to still think of what happened in Flint, Michigan. The fact that when the city changed its water source to the Flint River, but didn't treat the new supply adequately, it exposed the city's 100,000 majority Black inhabitants to dangerous levels of lead from aging pipes and other contaminants such as E. coli. And if you think about it, drinking water, the water that comes out of your tap, everything that you do with that water, and you can only begin to imagine the horrors that these people in Flint, Michigan have had to deal with for so many years. So I do encourage you to think about what you can do to help sustain our Earth, restore our ecosystem, and also to consider what impact you can have to help fight systemic racism and environmental racism. That's all from me for now. Get ready and listen up to today's tip from Suki Singh.
Hello everyone, this is Suki Singh, aka Investing, of the Investing Podcast with your weekly Financial Friday tip. Is your portfolio diversified? Do you have exposure to not just US equities and assets, but also international mutual funds and international ETFs? Now is the time to look into that. Look at ETFs such as FXI or UPP to get more exposure in your portfolio for those assets. With that said, that is your weekly Financial Friday tip, and I'll speak to you soon. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.
So what is your takeaway from this week's Financial Fridays segment? What might you do differently around your money and your mindset? For more financial advice, you can check out Suki's podcast, Invest Sing, where I also share tips on his Wellness Wednesdays segment. If you enjoyed this episode and haven't already subscribed, you can do so on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Coach_Colette for more inspiration on personal growth and wellness. Tune in next Friday for another episode and get ready to start within to finish strong. Hey, I'm back with this week's Unplugged segment. I have still been reeling from the verdict in the Derek Chauvin trial, guilty on all 3 counts. I want to share a quote from Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison from his statement after the verdict was delivered. I would not call today's verdict justice, however, because justice implies true restoration. But it is accountability, which is the first step towards justice. And now the cause of justice is in your hands. And when I say your hands, I mean the hands of the people of the United States. And ironically, as we were learning of the verdict in the case, it turns out that another community in Columbus, Ohio, is mourning yet another police shooting of 16-year-old Ma'Khia Bryant that happened literally about 20 minutes to a half an hour before the verdict was released. And so even before learning of that unfortunate, tragic event, I already agreed with Keith Ellison that the verdict in and of itself is not justice. There is no way to truly restore George Floyd's life. His family is still left to mourn. Yet there is some more accountability, one could argue, with the verdict. Yet I have also agreed with so many comments and memes that I've seen on Twitter about the fact that the Black community, we have been collectively holding our breaths since this trial began, technically since the whole incident. And let's not include all of the other incidents that have happened before and since. This is just one long sense or time of not being able to breathe, actually literally and figuratively. And this is an extension of the form of trauma that we face. Also have been seeing comments and reckoning within myself this concept of how a whole world can be hanging on one trial of one white police officer. That's where we are right now in 2021. This is definitely a time, and it always continues to be a time, to allow yourself time to self-reflect, allow yourself time to process, allow yourself time to grieve, allow yourself to come to your own understanding of these events, and not allow anyone else to tell you how you should process, how you should grieve, how you should respond, or even how you should heal. Even as a behavioral health coach and EFT practitioner, I can make recommendations, yet each of you have your own choice about how you will deal with these events and how you will take steps to heal yourself, heal your families, and how we all can heal as a collective. I really wish I had some more profound words to share with you today. Know that I am here, and if any of the services that I offer can be of service to you, definitely reach out and let us know. So as I say nearly every Friday, take care of yourself, nourish yourself, get some self-care, some self-love, some self-healing in whatever forms that you can. I'm here, I see you, I hear you, I'm holding space for you, and we will be speaking again soon. Start within to finish strong. So what is your takeaway from this week's Financial Fridays segment? What might you do differently around your money and your mindset? For more financial advice, you can check out Suki's podcast, Invest Sing, where I also share tips on his Wellness Wednesdays segment. If you enjoyed this episode and haven't already subscribed, you can do so on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you like to listen. You can also connect with me on Instagram at Coach_Colette for more inspiration on personal growth and wellness. Tune in next Friday for another episode and get ready to start within to finish strong.